Today we are going to be looking at the electronicals that go into the Academy God Phoenix. So this, I've already had a look at the instructions and I think it seems pretty straightforward. The good thing about it is that it is actually made for people who don't have access to a soldering iron. You can just twist the connections. But for me, I can't help myself. I've got to solder it. I just find you'll get a better connection, better consistency as far as the light working. So let's have a look at where we go from here. So it starts with the battery box, and it looks like we're just putting in a couple of terminals, and these are just push fit. Let's see if I can pick them up. So the first one here, which is just positive, and it just slots down. It seems very loose in there. I don't think it's supposed to be that loose. Well, it seems to be, I don't know. So it has these little clips that I guess stop it from sort of sliding out. I'm just going to try and bend them a little bit more, just so that there's a bit more of a friction fit. Before I do that, should make sure I got the right one in. Yep. Okay, I reckon that'll be better. Use my trusty cuticle tool here. There we go. There we go, that's better. Now I'm tossing up whether to actually paint the base or just give it a matte coat. It's tight in there now. The reason for that is because normally, I mean, the plastic doesn't look too bad as far as the colour. It's dark grey, but I think that once I do the electronics, I'm going to have to button all this up, and I don't know if I want to sort of do extra masking. So anyway, we shall see. That's the first terminal in. Let's see what this one's like. Yeah, so this one's, I think the pins that bite in, I think, are better on this terminal. But again, it's just getting enough purchase on it to push it in there. There we go. It's not going to matter too much. I mean, I don't expect these things are going to sort of move too much once everything's in place, but the thing is that they will be upside down like that, so I don't want them just sort of falling out and messing up the connection. Alright, we have these little springs. How do they work? Just check that they're not different. They're the same, looks like it. So they just slide in like that. Oh, actually, I've got the button around the wrong way. Yeah, so these terminals, they slide down. They've got two tracks that they follow, and then there's a little peg that prevents it from sort of popping out again. There we go. So there's a tiny little clip that prevents that from popping out again. And the other one goes the other way. That one seems to be a lot more straightforward. We have the terminals in. Alright, so we have the button switch, and it looks like that literally just slots into place. And again, it's just friction fit. There doesn't seem to be anything holding it in place. I assume that when the button goes on top, that's what'll keep it in place. Alright, I better turn my soldering iron on. Now it's a matter of working out what goes where. The other thing I really like about this kit is that they've actually trimmed the shielding off. So it's just a matter of sort of pulling it off and then twisting the wire a little bit so that it's easier to sort of bend around the terminal holes, ready for just twisting them on. Or if you're like me, you go to solder them on. That's very fine wire. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a process called tinning, which is where you literally just get some solder on the wire. Now I just need to confirm which is which. So that's negative there, just like the instructions suggest. Swap these around. So we're going to poke this through the terminal hole here. Now the instructions talk about just twisting it on, but in this case I'm going to be soldering it. So I'm not sure where they want us to lead the wires. It looks like they just go over the battery compartment here. So let's see if you can see that. It doesn't need much. Yeah, it's definitely on there. And when we get to it, we'll test this thing as well, just to make sure that it's working okay. Okay, it looks like the neck of the base. So I've already trimmed the pegs and everything, and there is a noticeable seam line with this thing, so I am going to need to clean that up. Now it looks like these terminals, they have these terminals that clip in here. It looks like I won't be able to put them in after this is glued together, so I might have to just put them in place and then mask them. But quite a clever system of making contact with the model so that the battery can power the lights inside. I really like that system. And let's see. So for these we can solder them first. And they've got some yellow and blue wire. Again, what I'm going to do is tin the wires. If you're going to do any soldering, get yourself one of these things. They're called a helping hand. They come in different forms, but basically it is literally just an extra thing to hold stuff while you're soldering or while you're checking things. Okay, I might do the other ends while I'm at it. There we go, reasonably clean solder. I was thinking maybe I trim those wires, but I don't think I need to. They're not going to come anywhere near each other. Of course, if you've got the negative and the positive butting up against each other, you're going to get a short, which means the electricity, of course, is going to take the path of least resistance and is not going to light up your LEDs. Alright, so let's make sure I'm following the instructions here. So yellow on this side and the blue on that side. Now that's coming very close to that peg there. Might go the other way. Actually, I don't think I can go the other way because one's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. So how do I do this? Go that way. And this one can go that way. So really it's just going to be about watching out for these pegs. I think it should be fine. But, I'm worried about this one. It seems very close. Now if I go this way, of course one of the dangers I have is that it will short out. Unravel this. Okay, so to stop these two shorting out so that I can actually run them down the center, I'm going to use some heat shrink. And heat shrink is sort of like a rubber-like tube, and you put it over the wire and just apply a little bit of heat and it shrinks around the wire. It helps to insulate it because we do not want a short. So I'm just cutting off a couple of pieces here. They slide over the wire. Basically I want to get it in there as close as possible to where it's joined, so that way we don't get any chance of the wires hitting each other when they're that close. So now I need some heat. Alright. So I'm going to repeat the process for this one. Okay, good. Now I can send both of these down the middle. Now they recommend using the tape that they've supplied, which is this stuff. I don't think it's actually going to matter whether you use it or not. I think I could probably just use a bit of Tamiya tape. It's really just to hold it in place while you're putting the two halves together, because you really don't want the wires to sort of get crimped. There we go. Now that's all that's really needed. Now it's a matter of attaching this. Just making sure that the wires are coming out. So the fit is pretty good. I just need to clean this seam up because it is pretty unsightly. So I don't know if I really need to worry about the seam at the top, given that the ship's going to sit on top of it, but certainly on the sides. So I got some Tamiya extra thin. I reckon this stuff has revolutionised model making. It certainly beats the stuff that comes out of a tube that I used to use as a kid. You literally just run it down the line. Now I'll be putting some sprue goo in here as well, and then sanding the whole thing. Okay, so there is no turning back now. That is glued. That is glued. And I'm just going to get a clamp to hold it together. And let that sit for a bit. Okay, so they talk about running the stem down and joining it up here. So the yellow cable goes to the positive connection. So it looks like I've got to seal all this up. Is there something I can do instead? I'm actually thinking maybe if I set it up so that I can plug it in, so where the yellow joins the terminal here and where the blue wire joins the positive coming out of the button, I think I might set up just a very small plug and socket arrangement. So it'll make it a little bit easier when I'm sort of, if I want to paint things later on down the track. Alright, what I'm going to use is these header jacks and pins. And so they're pretty small, which means that I can connect this positive wire to the blue coming out of the stem here. And I reckon that might be the best way to go. So I'm just trying to work out the easiest way of sort of doing this without making it too messy. Maybe if I do something like that, and then I can plug the things in. it a shot. Thing to remember when using heat shrink is to make sure you get it over the wire before you join stuff up, otherwise it's going to be problematic. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just tin these so that they're ready to have things connected to them. Probably doesn't make a lot of sense at the moment, but it will when I'm, hopefully when I'm done. And if it doesn't, I'm sure I'll be able to fix it. Yep, that's definitely connected. And then I can pull up the heat shrink and give that a blast of hot air. Put the paper out of the way before that catches light. Okay. So just to show you what I've got so far, this little double socket. So the positive, I've put a bit of heat shrink in just because that other pin is going to go to this connector here, so it's going to be a bit more exposed. It's not going to be too much of an issue now that I've got a some heat shrink in there. Okay, it is far from pretty, but I think it'll work and allow me to, you know, to pull this stuff apart and paint it. So while we're at it, we might tape those down. Here we go, so it's not getting in the way. Alright, which means for these two, I need to put the male pins on. So they usually come in a bank like this, and then you have to use pliers to break them off. So for these pins, they've actually got sort of little divisions in there. Let's see, focusing. Yeah, so you see that little division. So you just need a pair of needle nose pliers, and you literally just go in there and break them off. So I've got two. Yeah, you're probably thinking, you know, this is a bit of a ridiculous amount of work for something that's quite trivial, but for me, I get a buzz out of doing it. You know, it can be a bit obsessive, but that doesn't matter. All right, yeah, that out of the way. Clear away some space. The irony is I've got really good amount of bench space, but the actual filming area is quite small. Alright, let me get some solder on there. Put the heat shrink on before I forget. I need a little bit. Okay. Again, not pretty, but it'll work. Well, I hope it works. Famous last words. Alright, now rinse and repeat for the other one. I did a bit of electronics when I was in high school. Obviously a very long time ago. And I enjoyed it when I did it in high school, but I never sort of got back into it until later years. And ironically, it was when I got into arcade machines and building my own arcade machine. So it was sort of a skill I had to go back to and learn how to solder again. Of course, by then tools had changed a bit. Here we go. Alright, so I think I can take these clips off. I think that Tammy extra thing would have well and truly dried by now. Okay, so the thing is now that I should be able to put the top on and everything. So I need the spring and the button. And the straight edge of the stand is at the front. And so you can see now I've got these two plugs. It means I can sort of unplug it and you know, take this all off. So I need to plug the right one in. So we've got, what do we got? So blue to the red coming out of the button, and then the yellow goes to the negative terminal. Sorry, the positive terminal on the battery box. Hey. Oh boy. So we'll be able to test this and make sure it works before we sort of go any further. And that looks like that's it. Alright, so in order to test it, what I need to do is basically put some batteries in it. Okay, so it looks like they're AAA's. Now, if you want a good rechargeable battery, they're not cheap, but these Eneloops by, what is it, Senyo, I think, Panasonic. These are fantastic. They just, I mean, their selling point is you can leave them charged on the shelf for years and years, and they'll still retain a heap of charge. So, all right. Now, of course, nothing's going to happen when I hit the button. But what I want to do is check that we're getting voltage coming through these 2 points. So I'm going to get my multimeter. You hit the switch once. That turns it on, so we're at 4 volts. Hit the switch again, and it'll turn off. So there we can see it's going down. Yep, Okay. Seems to be working. Turn it on, 4 volts. Turn it off, it goes into 0. Okay, good. So, that appears to be working. It's working. Okay, so here's the model in its disassembled glory. So I have pulled it apart enough to be able to get the LEDs in the fuselage and for the engine parts. Alright, so we have these fine wire, they're almost like little springs, but you can see that U-shaped U there, that U-shaped U, that U-shape there, that's what passes through the slots in here, and that's what makes the connection to this. So it will come down and connect like that, which is quite clever. Alright, the first thing I need to do is take out these bottom panels. Not sure which one it's actually supposed to go into. I think it's the first one, this one. So I need to take that out. There's little posts. I'll take this bit off. Yeah, so there's a little post that this slides onto, and then you wrap the wire around this other one. So I'm not going to wrap the wire around. What I'm going to do is solder it on. So we've got that one and that one. So this is the what would you call it, wiring loom, I guess, for the LEDs. So what do we got? 5 LEDs. My understanding is that there's one for the top. Now I'm not sure what's going to happen here because I can't tell if that's a plug that they've got in there. Is that what's going on? Can that push out? Doesn't feel like it. So I'm not sure what happens here, whether the light sort of shines through the plastic or not. But anyway, there's supposed to be one come up through the dome, and there are 4 that come out of the engines at the rear. So first thing first, I am going to solder these, tin these wires before I hook them up to the springs. It's a bit rough. I haven't actually got the heat shrink over that. I might fix that up myself. I don't actually think it's going to make much of a difference. You know, it doesn't look as though there's going to be anything that shorts, but you never know. I might tin that. Trim these guys down because I won't need that much. Or will I? Yeah, I'll leave it there. So all I'm doing here is just putting an extra bit of shrink wrap, heat shrink, just because there's an exposed bit there where they've joined it up to, I assume, a resistor in there. You just want to reduce the amount of reduce the amount of opportunity for a short to happen. Yeah, sorry, I know this is probably out of focus. The Alright, one done. It's pretty rough, but it should be fine. Like I keep saying, I'm certainly no expert at soldering, but I know enough to be dangerous and enough to usually get electronics done that I'm interested in. So I've done a bit of sort of Arduino stuff and a lot of LED stuff, even some stepper motors. So as I get doing other projects with those sort of things in them, I will certainly share them and explain at least my process of how I go about these things. Probably not correct, but like I said, I usually get stuff working the way I want it to. Alright, so now we should be able to... And the good thing here is that we should be able to check it really soon. Okay, so what are they saying? They're saying the black should go up the front. I'm trying to bring this spring down further because I think it needs to go. Yeah, there we go. That's what we want. Alright, so there is the tiniest bit of wire poking through there. And as the copper panel plugs in there, it should make a connection. So we'll see how well that works. Well, that's pretty much it, I think, as far as the actual connection goes. I think the rest of it is more about how to make it all fit and put the LEDs in the, in the engines and what have you, and where to poke them out through. So the next thing for me is to test it. Moment of truth. I can't tell if that's making a decent connection or not. I assume it has to go down pretty firmly in place to make that connection. Yeah, I reckon that's definitely making a connection, so if this doesn't work, we're in trouble. we're in trouble. Oh no. So you're going to hold the button, are you? Oh. Yes, it does seem a little bit temperamental, and I think it's actually because of the connection. So when I push it down, it's turning on, and that's not even from the button. Ah, so because the battery was falling out, maybe. Maybe I should actually put the battery door on. That might help, because maybe that's what the problem was. That's why when I was pushing it down. Alright, let's see, here we go, yeah. Hey! There we go. Okay, and the lid's seeing a little bit brighter too, so that's all it was just a battery door. Oh, nice easy fix, that one. I'll just see what it looks like poking through the engine cans. Okay. Now I think there's an issue with these batteries, this battery compartment. I think what I almost need to do is put a little bit of rubber or tape or something like that on here to prevent the batteries from sort of slipping out. It seems that that is the issue. So, do I have any? What can I put in there that'll? Maybe even a bit of folded up paper. It doesn't need to be much. It's just about providing that sort of pressure. It's going to be too much. Of course, it's just a temporary solution. What I might do is I will end up, just getting a little bit of rubber, or I might even just take a little bit of tape, but just something to sort of force those batteries to sit in there. So I reckon that's half the battle I'm having at the moment. And let's see if this works. Alright, there we go. Okay, so that's what, a bit hard to see. That's what they look like, the engine cans. And you do have like some other effects pieces that sort of go over there as well. So, yeah. No, they won't look too bad. Not too bad. But those lights are definitely staying on a lot more consistently with that just a bit of padding in the battery box. So the next thing is to paint all these parts, and I'm going to be using these SMS paints again because I had such a good experience with them. So the next step is to start priming all the stuff and getting it painted. So the next video will probably be these pieces all painted and assembly. So I'll take it from there.